Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 6. Can you believe it? You're getting close to the end. So, what does that mean, being close to the end? Well, you've submitted your chapters 1 and 2, as I called them in the group meetings, your semi drafts. I'm going to be enjoying reading those and commenting back to you on those and scoring them. And then this week, week 6, is about data collection methods, triangulation, types of validity, confidentiality, as you're looking into chapter 3, because you'll be constructing or writing your chapter 3 and then starting to work on your IRB. So the expectations this week are really getting into your readings. You're going to get into the ethical components of family matters and understanding how to treat somebody ethically as you think about collecting data from your students, signatures from your parents, and that reminder. So that's the article, Ethical Research Involving Children. And then you're going to be reviewing chapters 4 and 5, which should have already been read, but getting into chapter 6, which is analyzing data in the action research studies. So again, I know you're thinking, well, Will, you've told us chapter 4 is about data analyzation. That is correct, but you do have to think about the data collection component and put that in your chapter 3. That is an important part of your chapter to make me understand and any other reader understand how you're going to be collecting that data and the ethical components of collecting that data, whether it be surveys, whether it be observations, whether it be quiz scores, all of that, thinking of that together and putting that as part of your chapter 3. So chapter 3 in the nutshell is pretty much discussing the intervention. You're going to start off with that introduction of who's a part of the research, talking about your school, the background of the school, makeup of the school, makeup of the students, again, being confidential about it where you're not releasing student information, but giving that general overview. And then you're going to get into what the intervention is, lay that out, look about the plan for that 3 weeks, what strategies or tactics you're going to use, how you're going to collect the data, and then give that timeline as well. So very, very important to include that all in. I'll tell you, I'm not going to bring up right now the rubric, but really looking at that chapter 3 rubric will guide you through it, as well as the headings that are in the capstone template. You've seen that template, so I'm not going to go into that again, but using that, very important to remember, this is a collaborative piece where you're coming together and writing together just like you did in chapter 1. So the learning module, I need to highlight this red component right here. The learning module is really going to try and give you an overview of the IRB. An important thing to remember is that this was an older guide into the IRB, so very important to remember that we are looking at a application that is not an expedited, but an exempt. So finding ways to be exempt when you're reading that information. In essence, you're saying that you're not going to put children in harm, you're not going to pay them all these pieces, so you want an exempt review, so that way it doesn't have to go a thorough reading over. As they share in the slides, it's a week to 2 weeks. My experience, I've gotten it 2 to 3 days. It just really just depends. So goal is to have the IRB done by this week if possible. If not, latest it's really technically due week 7. I will say this, I am welcome to receive the IRB ahead of time to look over, try and give you some pointers before we gather it, because we are going to need to stick in your actual signature. So you're going to have to scan, upload this as well as I'm going to have to upload my information, and then I'm the one that sends the IRB in and will CC you with the application. So very important to remember. So I've talked about chapter 3, that's due at the end of this week on Sunday, again, group assignment, and then I've already talked about looking at your IRB expectation, that's assignment number 7. I am going to put up a video on Wednesday about the IRB, just to have you hear checkpoints again, and then Chapter 6, looking at the validity components of your data collection and how you're going to validate what you're using, really look at that list. I'm also going to tell you the samples of action research papers or capstone papers that are out that have that section on validity. Read those through. They're great samples and great guides. I'd be glad, but think about triangulation where you're taking those components. Very, very important to include that, as all of that will be a part of it. If you have questions, don't hesitate to email, call, or text. I hope that it's a great week. I know that we are not technically meeting this week. It will be next week in group meetings. I did forget your discussion board. You're going to talk about your forms of validity in the discussion board. Um, the tip in the discussion board says get it done ahead of time. That will get you to think for your chapter 3 with your group members as well. I do expect individual submissions for the discussion board, just because I want to see that each group member understands the kind of validity that they're using. I hope that you have a great week.